The Battle of the Argonne, an American story from World War I. The autumn of 1918 was cold, damp, and filled with the thunder of artillery in the Meuse-Argonne region of France. The Great War had raged for 4 years, and now the United States had fully committed its forces to breaking the German defenses. Among those soldiers was Private James "Jimmy" Sullivan, a 19-year-old farm boy from Kansas, fighting in the 77th Infantry Division, known as the Lost Battalion. Jimmy had never seen Europe before the war. He had never traveled far beyond his father's wheat fields, but now he found himself in the dense Argonne Forest, surrounded by enemies, cut off from reinforcements, and desperately fighting for survival. The offensive begins. On September 26, 1918, the Meuse-Argonne Offensive began, the largest American operation of the war. Over 1.2 million U.S. soldiers pushed forward to break the German Hindenburg Line, a formidable network of trenches, barbed wire, and machine gun nests. Jimmy's unit, part of Major Charles Whittlesey's command, advanced deep into the forest. The Germans retreated at first, but soon the Americans realized they had pushed too far ahead. By October 2, Jimmy and 554 men from the 77th Division were completely surrounded by German forces. They had become what history would call the Lost Battalion. Survival in the forest. For 5 days, Jimmy and his comrades held their ground. They had little food, almost no water, and were constantly under attack. German snipers picked off soldiers one by one. Artillery shells exploded around them, shaking the earth like an angry giant. To make matters worse, American artillery, unaware of their location, began shelling their own men. With no radios and field telephones cut, Major Whittlesey relied on carrier pigeons to send messages. One pigeon, named Chair Ami, was released with a desperate plea. "We are along the road parallel to 276.4. Our own artillery is dropping a barrage directly on us. For heaven's sake, stop it." Chair Ami flew through bullets and shrapnel, arriving at headquarters severely wounded but alive. Because of this brave bird, the artillery fire ceased, saving hundreds of American lives. The final stand. By October 7, the Germans sent an ultimatum: surrender or die. But Whittlesey and his men refused. Jimmy, exhausted, clutched his rifle, watching his fellow soldiers, their faces sunken with hunger but still determined. That same day, American reinforcements finally broke through. The Lost Battalion was saved, but at a terrible cost. Of the original 554 men, only 194 survived. The rest had been killed, wounded, or captured. The war ends. A month later, on November 11, 1918, World War I ended with an armistice. Jimmy, wounded but alive, returned home to Kansas, forever changed. He never spoke much about the war, but every year on November 11th, he would stand outside his barn, close his eyes, and remember the men who had fought and died in the Argonne Forest. America had proven itself on the world stage, and Jimmy, like thousands of others, had been part of history.